Hello, everybody. Welcome in. It is Friday. My name's Brian. Welcome to the Theme Workshop. This is where, if you're new, we talk about all things Launchbox and Big Box theme related. We build themes. We help people out with themes. If you have a need for help with a Launchbox or Big Box theme, come ask your questions below in the comments. Send me a message on the community theme or the community forums over there. My name is Farron. Welcome in. I see Christopher Riaz. Welcome in. Hope you're doing well this Friday. I've got a few topics to cover already on the agenda. If anybody comes in and wants to talk about anything theme related, I'm always happy to answer those questions. So yeah, it's been quite the week for Launchbox. We finally got our 12.2 release out, and that came with RetroArch integration. So hopefully everyone's been enjoying that feature, being able to keep up with your RetroArch installs. Get them all updated and all your cores updated, and just hopefully it makes your life a little bit easier. I do have a first question already from the forums that I'd like to get to, and this is from our forum member, the Pawpaw. He's been in the middle of building a pause theme, and he needed some help with how to arrange the elements. And hey, Cody Man Themes, welcome in. Frank, hope you're doing well this Friday. So in particular, the Pawpaw was having troubles laying out elements on the screen in a pause theme, right? And the reason is, so we have obviously the community theme creator, which is a great tool right here, and I'll use it today to build a new theme. The problem is that it doesn't currently support, as of this stream, pause themes or startup themes. So if you're wanting to build one of those, you do have to know a little bit about XAML, a little bit about grids, how they function. And the Pawpaw was having a little trouble rearranging items, and what I'll do today is we'll load up the theme, and I'll give a little tips on what you could do in order to tell what is exactly going on, where your elements are within a grid, how you can maneuver them around, and then maybe some tips about what I would normally do in those situations, because you lots and lots of different ways to basically accomplish the same thing. So whether my way is right or not, let's give it a shot. And Frank, how much is it now for Big Box? Well, technically, it's our premium. If you're talking about, we've got two options. We've got, you could purchase the program. The program, I believe, is $30. And that gives you the program and a year's worth of free updates, basically. And then if you're wanting to not worry about updates and then be able to just get updates forever, we have that forever license option, and that's $75. That changed, I'm going to say, in 2019, something like that. So it's been a number of years since that's been the pricing model. And Jason, welcome in. You're saying an 8-bit theme would be sick. A UI or graphics based on paper sheets. Oh, let me write this stuff down for you. Or a theme imagined around super simple line drawings of game elements and characters moving or fading in and out. Now, that does sound awesome. I always love 8-bit themes. Love game-specific graphics. But let's think of it from a theme developer point of view. So if I wanted to have, let's say, Like in my mind, I'd want to have game-specific graphics to appear when I navigate to a game, right? If I navigate to Super Nintendo or like Super Mario World, I want to see maybe like some cool Super Mario World thing going on. That would mean that I would basically have to have or create some sort of video or animation for every single game that I have in my library. So while possible, and there are people that are trying to do this, like on the forums, it does take a number of years to get all those assets. But a Darkstalkers theme, that sounds really cool. Slick Rip. Welcome in, Slick. Let me write that one down too. Yeah, like game-specific themes. If you check out Pandemonium over on the forums, he's essentially been doing stuff like that, like collection-specific themes. He's really good with the videos, so he's been doing it all using videos. And it's been really cool to see. And CBeats make a theme look like the scribbles that you made when you're in your notebook at school. And Riaz, Ultima Underworld 1 and 2 theme. Now, when you say Ultima Underworld 1 and 2 theme, do you mean the graphics like you're playing the game, or something else like the like fan art or box art of the game, like inspired by Ultima Underworld, or like you're playing Ultima Underworld? And Grimjack, welcome in. You love the DOS menu theme. Yeah, we did do that a few weeks back, didn't we? Reminds me of DirectAccess 5 on DOS. Now that's really cool. Yeah, I took the design. Like we have Jason made a DOS, a Launchbox for DOS. So I took that as inspiration and made like an HD graphic as like a DOS background, and then created that theme. It turned out really cool. And there we go. Perhaps some sort of iconic game mechanic turned into an animation as the platform's console's background. So like every single platform would transform the screen into one of its iconic games in some way. That would be really cool. On CBeats, a dungeon crawler looking theme with the icons, the place in the place the party faces normally are, sort of thing. That's true. There's lots of inspiration you take from all those types of games. Maybe using the freebie metal ruins that came with the game. I'm not familiar with those, but maybe I can take a look at those. Oh, these are all great suggestions. And you're saying use some kind of animated image of the in-game map creation tool. That would be interesting. I'd have to go check that out. And Grimjack, how does the theme engine work? Does it use XML or CSS or some custom INI stuff? So in particular, the theme engine relies solely on XAML. So WPF XAML, just what CBeats is posting there. So if you know any XAML, like just say when I started a bunch of years ago, I knew nothing about XAML or anything about it. So everything that I learned was specific to creating big box themes. But it all should come together. We'd have, definitely you can go to websites that teach you about XAML and syntax for XAML, and then you can use our documents documentation PDF file, which should be located in all Launchbox/theme folders. Oh, my computer didn't like that one. Launchbox/theme folders. There we go. And it's always here. Your folder won't be nearly as messy as mine. Is that like Silverlight? I hear that I guess it replaced it. Something like that. Silverlight, you could have like Silverlight XAML, because I've seen references to that. So yeah, I guess it's a newer thing. But you can look through the documentation and you can kind of get an idea of how Big Box functions, the files involved, the views, the elements that you're allowed to add to your theme. But besides all of that, later in the stream I will use this program here, which can be downloaded. I should have a link in the comments or in the description here. Community Theme Creator for Big Box, and this is like the Photoshop of building your themes. So I'll get to that. It's like a designer mode for themes. But first, let's get back to the Pawpaw. He wanted a pause theme built. So a pause theme in Launchbox or Big Box is one of those themes that shows up when you pause your game. So I've set up everything here. I'm going to launch a game, and we're going to see what his pause theme looks like, at least on my screen. And let's take a look, and then I'll sort of explain what the issues he was having. Okay, so I got the game up. I want to pause the game, so I press the pause key, and up comes the pause menu. So here's his pause menu that he created. The main issue that he was asking me about was, so you see the box art on the left-hand side, over there, way over there. It's not vertically centered. You can kind of see that it's, above center. And he was just like, well, let's center it. And he was having trouble figuring out exactly what he could do to center it, because in the code, he basically put, vertical center into the vertical aligned center into the actual box, and it's still not centered. So let's take a look at the code and figure out what's going on. I'm gonna close that. Get back to the game. Oh, stuff's going on my computer. There it goes. Okay, let's go into the code. Probably should close this game down. And let's see what we got. Okay, there we go. This is his code. And I've broken this down into previous streams, but let's break it down a little bit more, just quickly. How do I raise this a bit? There we go, so everyone can see. And Jackson, you haven't had a chance to play around with the theming in Launchbox, but Big Box is fantastic for your GPD Win 3. That's awesome to hear. And definitely make sure you take advantage of the forums. There's, last I checked, about 180 different themes there, whereas within Big Box itself, you have a more smaller curated collection. And Grimjack, I am running a Windows 11. For better or worse right now. And Bertold, hi, bye, hello, and thank you for joining for the second. Okay, so let's break this down into what I usually do in 3 sections. You got all the namespaces at the top. Normally don't have to worry about this unless something's missing that you're wanting to use. We've got the user resources. Normally all of this stuff are styles, kind of like CSS. Ends right here. In this particular case, we've got the list box items. So this is what the style of the actual list of the options are in a pause menu. For, let's say, if the item is selected, make the background this color, make the foreground white. If the mouse is over it, do this. If the item is, these are a bunch of conditions essentially. Your casual gamer, welcome in. Glad to see you here. Happy Friday to you. Now down here is the style of the actual list box. So besides all those conditions, we are going to have a black color, it looks like, of the text. We're not going to have a background color. It looks like it's set to transparent. And a bunch of border thicknesses and stuff that just looks like set to 0. So all this is telling me is that the list, the items in the list are going to be black. And Angelo, make a theme like Polymega UI. Oh, that's definitely something that I should probably do. I did do sort of a proof of concept of not really the entire theme, so I probably should do that at some point. But if you look over on the forums for a theme called the POC, which was just mainly a proof of concept of what the new wall views that came in early this year could accomplish. There's sort of inspiration pulled from the Polymega UI. All right, so at this point, we're not actually at the actual canvas. Here's like the third section, the canvas. Everything inside of this is going to somewhat be displayed on the screen. It goes from here to down there. So we're coming to the heart of what he's built here. Now, specifically, he's looking for one element in all of this mess. You see all these images. This image looks like he's pointing specifically to a background PNG in his folders. This element looks like it's the cart front image. And this image looks like the selected games box 3D or normal image path. Okay, so this is what he wants centered. And what you'll notice is that he has everything inside of this grid right here. The grid starts here. He's created a bunch of column definitions and row definitions. The best thing I can say about the way that to describe this is that the grid is essentially an Excel spreadsheet, and columns and rows are your columns and rows in Excel spreadsheet. So he's created a number of columns, a number of rows that are invisible and are displaying in the screen like a giant grid. And Grimjack, can we have different themes for each system? For example, a lo-fi black and white mouse text one for Apple II, and say a pet SCI, a SCSI one for C64. Yes, you can do that, and Retro is right. You can do that. You do have to just set up a theme hotkey, a switch theme hotkey, and then you would navigate to your platform, like your Commodore 64 platform. You would hit your change theme key, and then you would just switch to another theme that has your lo-fi black and white mouse text theme. Or you could build a theme that has different elements for each individual platform that you want to see as well. Lots of sort of different, like you can mix and match themes that already exist, or you can kind of build your own ultimate theme that you want to see on a per platform level. Pet ski. Pet ski or pet sky? I see. It's the character glyphs in the Commodore 64. Okay, so here's tip number 1 for the pawpaw. I want to know where this is located in my grid, right? That's the heart of the matter. Where is this located in my grid? And you can see here that he's placed it in grid row number 1, grid column 0. So 0 is the first one, 1 is always the second one. So grid row, he's placed it in this one here. And then to start off with, and then column, he's placed it in the top one here. And then grid row span is how many rows you're spanning. So he's basically how many rows you're sort of combining into one. So he's combining 3, he's starting here, he's combined these 3 into one giant row. And then column span, he's taken the first one, second one, and third one and combined them into one big column. And that's sort of the box. But here's an easier way. If I wanted to see just literally what space the image has, an easy way to do that is to create a rectangle, fill the rectangle with some strange color like green, and then paste all of these grid rows and columns to match whatever this image is. And let's launch the game and see what we got. Give me 1 second. All right. And CBs. Leads to the obvious question, when are you getting cover box done? Yes, the ultimate question. I do need to dedicate some of these streams to cover box, don't I? Or else I'll never really get them done. All right, so we're gonna look at the pause screen and see what we actually have now. Okay, so there's the box, right? And you can see that the image is vertically centered within this grid box that he's put the image in. And that's essentially the issue that he's having. It's centered, but it's centered to an invisible box that's not centered, because that's just how the grid works. And so I'm not 100% certain why it's being done. The way that he's made it work is he's put a hard width on the actual box. So let me, let's get out of this. So how would I solve this for him? He's got a lot of grid and column definitions without really... I'm guessing he's got an idea of what they're for. Normally I probably wouldn't do it this way, but since it's there and to not mess up the rest of the theme, what I would probably do is build a new grid around the image. Actually, there's a simpler way, and that's because he's already set this right here, a width of 600. It's not going to go past a width of 600, which means I don't have to worry about making the box art too large. And so what you would do is you would take this whole row and you would just span the whole thing. So 0, which would start here, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So grid row span 6, which is here. Okay, let's put that rectangle back. And let's see what we got. So we got an idea of what I just did. Okay. And Riaz, I guess green, I guess strange isn't the word. A color that's not on the actual theme itself, so you can see it. Okay. And that's essentially what I did. You can see that now it spans all the rows, making it so when he does do the vertical alignment center, the box is now perfectly in the center. And there you go, the pawpaw. Hopefully that helped you out a little bit. One more thing though, is that you'll notice that on my screen, because maybe it's a 2K screen, that the list box on the right hand side here above me is not looking quite right, is it? And that might just be something to do with the grid. And I'll let you mess around with that. Until then, I will get rid of you can see this last object is sort of flowing down there. All right. Clearly my computer could probably use a restart, but we got no time for that. Let's move straight on. What I would like to do is showcase a feature that a new feature that Dave's been working on in the Community Theme Creator. A couple new features. Wanted to try to highlight one, and a good idea for this one is to recreate or port an old theme that I created based off of a 4x3 theme that was posted on the forums. And to just port that to the Community Theme Creator and then show off sort of this new feature, which is essentially video, which is essentially a video, not really a video reflection, but the ability to create multiple videos in a game view. And I'm going to use that to try to create some sort of video reflection on this theme and see if it works or not. And Veldog, sorry I'm falling behind the chat a little bit. How do you delete games from your hard drive from Big Box? You probably want to delete your games from your hard drive itself. Big Box, as far as I know, won't allow you to delete games. We don't want you to actually accidentally delete games. You do have the options to delete games from Launchbox, as long as you understand that there's an option in the options that you can turn on, as long as you understand that it's just going to delete the file that it's pointing to, and not, like, if the game is multiple files, it won't delete all the files. Better to organize your games and then let Launchbox manage like your library collection. And Grimjack, is there a theme refresh function in Big Box where if I edit the XAML, it can update? Or does it automatically update refresh? So the way that it works in Big Box is, if you change, let's say, a game file, you could refresh that game file or the game view by just going back to the platform and then the platform view and then entering back into the game view. That would refresh it. If you refresh the view itself by hitting your view button or change view button, that would also refresh it. Anything that makes it look like it's refreshing will refresh and then show you your changes. And Grimjack, it would be dope if there was a way to throw the big box app into dev mode, hover with the mouse to see what this info without having to edit and add the green box. Yeah, so now we're going to get into the community theme creator, which was designed so that you could create your big box theme without having to mess with the code. Let's do that right now, and hopefully Grimjack, it'll make you see sort of what the power of this program, and maybe it'll inspire you to create your own theme. So let's go to the actual, we'll see if I can find it, the theme that I want to port over to this community theme creator. Okay, so I found it. So it's going to be this theme here. So it's a simple theme. Looks like there's a background. There's this, I guess it's the cabinet. You've got the marquee image, the game video, some metadata here. Looks like the developer, potentially publisher. I think it's developer. The year that it came out, and then your basic wheel. And so back in the day, I did this all just with XAML code. And I got it to this point where it could come out. There's also some other hidden element here, which I'll get to. I think one of these images shows it. Yeah. So there's a game specific element. So I'll also talk about how do you get a game specific image appear. If you navigate to Donkey Kong, something will happen and a game image will pop out from behind this cabinet, or basically do whatever you want it to do. So let's get to it. I should probably use a reference image, but let's live dangerously. Let's just build it from scratch ourselves. So let's create a new theme. I'll call it the same thing, Coin OP. Press OK. And now we basically just started a new theme here. You can see you've got our platforms drop down, which you can change if you're wanting to see your view in different filters. You've got the different themes here, the different platforms here that I have collected. And it looks like I'm on Sega 32X. I'm going to switch to a games view. I'm going to click here. Let's see. Let's just do a basic wheel games view, the first one here. So now I'm in a game. Let's jump to an arcade game. This is a very arcade-centric theme. I mean, it's called Coin Op. And Retro, you're saying, why not just throw show grid lines equals true into the grid so users can see the full grid layout when the pause theme shows? That's another good way to do it too. And Dave, hey, just noticed you're around. And with Christian's help, if it were where you are going with this. So I assume that was a reference to something I said that I'm forgetting. And Veldogs, you're saying because MAME ROMs have weird names, not the same as Big Box. Trying to think. So in Launchbox, you have the ability to check off if you're importing MAME games. There is a feature to read MAME games ROM files, and then it should import your games if you check that off, to import your games properly with the proper names. If you don't use that, like use MAME metadata option or use the full set MAME importer, then you will get funky names. And boring login name, welcome in. Happy Friday. What are you saying here? So you're a new user. So yeah, welcome in. How can we help? You're trying to grasp what can be done. Is there a way to make a startup screen which plays a little animation like the game cartridge being inserted into the console? Yeah, I think somebody's actually did that in the past. So I'm trying to remember because it's been a number of years. I think what happened was I'd created a startup theme, and if I remember correctly, it was called Stage Box, something like that. It was simply the box cover of a image, and I think there was a blurred TV screen or something that would display the background or screenshot or something. And a guy took it and he manipulated it, and he did that whole like put the cartridge into the console startup theme. So is there a way to do that? Yeah, you would have to learn XAML, and then you would have to kind of learn about animations, if that makes sense, right? Because so that you can know, at what time you want that cart to drop in. But 100% you can do that. Let me get that down. Maybe it's something I can do in the future, in a future stream. Now, in saying that, just think about what that would contain, right? Because that means that now you would have to gather every single console that's in your library, if you're wanting to do it for yours, and you would have to gather every single console, maybe to try to like fill it out so that it works for as many consoles as possible. And then you would start, those consoles would, I guess, have to be straight enough in line so that it looks like the cart's going straight in. And Grimjack, can you animate on XAML? Yes, you can. It's got a fairly robust animation system. You can move items, skew items, do all sorts of cool stuff. All right. Let's go to a system. Let's get this going. I need a theme that I probably have, or I need a game that'll probably have a marquee image in and a video. So, and just for you, Grimjack, the way that the community theme creator works is that it links up with your big box and Launchbox build and displays all of your games within your library along with any metadata and media that you have in your library. So it's essentially, if you don't have any metadata or media in your big box, it's not going to display anything. So before you can use the community theme creator, you kind of have to build your own Launchbox library first with all of that stuff. So and that's what I'm going to show. Let's jump into editing this games view, and you can see we get this nifty little screen here. And we're going to do a little bit of animation today. Maybe not too much, but we'll get to that. And Ria, as a non-theme question, say you're downloading media from a ROM set and you want to show the front box images if none can be found for a certain game. Can you tell Launchbox to automatically then show your second preference, like a screenshot, for example? Just so that you don't have an ugly blank space. There's actually a number of things that you can do. And Retro808, thanks for posting that. And Cbeats, you guys, right in line with each other. You can go into your options. You can go to, you'll see a media priority, and just go to your front boxes and set your priorities. It's like your fallbacks. If no front image, do this. And then once you make changes to that, you're going to have to refresh your image grid. You can select all of your items and press F5. It's probably the easiest way. Okay, so I'm going to try to rebuild that theme. Let's see what I can do. I feel like I have it somewhere. Let's just double check if that's the case. Where's this old theme? Here it is. So here's the old files. I probably put some images in here. So there we go. So there's a bunch of images. I don't remember why I have two cabs. Game graphic. I got something called game graphics. Okay, so we'll get to that. See what that does. Okay, let's see what I can do with these things. So I'm just going to grab these two images for now. I'm pretty sure that's the entire theme, to be honest. Let's just make sure. Okay, no, I've got some stuff in here too. Okay, so I'm grabbing these two images, which should make up the majority of it. I'm going to go here, click this button, which will help me see all of the elements I'm allowed to add to my canvas here. I'm going to go to Image, and I'll just rename it Background Image. Down here, I'm going to go to a section that's called Media Folder, and I need to put my images inside of this media folder. All images need to be inside of a folder that's inside of your media folder. So I'm just going to create a folder, and I'm just going to call it Theme, which is normally what I do. It's not, you don't have to do that, but you can. Also, Riaz, something else that you could do is you can have default platform images. So you could basically say, if I don't have an image for this, default to like a generic NES image or something. Okay, so I've got my background and my arcade machine image. So let's go back to Community Theme Creator, and you can see all these options here. The image to display, media image, and I'm going to find my new theme folder and find my background. There we go, there's my background, and I'll just full screen that. Just in case for different size ratios, I should be able to just fill that, and then it'll just scale a little bit. If you're on like a 9 by or 10 by 16 screen or something. And Neil, hey, welcome in. Glad you can make it today. Happy Friday. It must be really late for you. So that's good. Your weekend's already started. All right, so we've got our background in there. Nothing special. But of course, we want the background to be in the background. So I'm going to drag that layer, put it behind everything else. And that'll show me my two mandatory elements here. The first one being the game wheel index. So this, you kind of see in Big Box, we have the ability to bring up this index that allows you to then navigate to a particular letter in your library, or do a search, or check, do a filter. I'm just going to place that down here. Do nothing special with it. Stretch it out as big as I can. And then I'm going to right click it and just align it to the center. There we go. And for this wheel element, which currently we can't see, but that is in the works to be able to see what's on the wheel. So for now, we've got this box that will represent our wheel. And I'm going to place it right here. I do need to turn on this lock to canvas option so that I can push it right against the top. There you go. So it's probably something like that anyway. And as far as what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use these handy, Dave's handy assist buttons, and I'm just going to say, hey, make it vertical. And so it's just going to make it vertical here, make that a bit smaller. And the image type's going to be clear logos, which is what I want. But of course, you can always choose something else if you really want to, including all these custom images, which is something we've covered in the past. Okay, so we took care of the background, the wheel, and the game wheel index. Now let's play with the fun part. Now the game wheel index we don't actually need to see right now, so I'm going to uncheck the show element button. We need a new image. And might as well create a new group. So I'm going to create a new group for my cabinet. This one will be our cabinet image. And we'll put that right in there. I'm going to navigate to the same theme folder, say, hey, arcade machine, and blammo, there it is. And you can see it's already been treated. It's a transparent image. It's got a little glare around the marquee, but you can most mostly see through it, and you can see through this whole area, and it almost looks like there's some scan lines, maybe like very light scan lines already treated on it, so I don't have to worry about that too much. If you're a person that doesn't like scan lines, you might want to remove them or treat it as more of an option. Okay, so it looks like it's basically on the bottom. It's in a fairly good position, I would say. Maybe I'll move it over with my cursor, so I'll just hold down Shift, bounce it over a tiny bit. Okay, looks pretty good. Alright, let's fill it out with some actual elements. So we'll start with the video. So selected item video. We'll place it in this spot. Now make sure that's actually filling the space, but hey, it looks like it's on top of the cabinet, so I can simply just take this and put it underneath the cabinet. There you go. Video done. Next, marquee image. So let's create a marquee image. I'll bring it under my cabinet because I'm remembering this time. And we'll now switch to our metadata, which we've got lots of things to play with here. One of them is the arcade marquee. And look there, I do have an arcade marquee in my, or an altered beast marquee. Now marquees come in all flavors and sizes. There's not one marquee size. So you'll notice that as I'm doing this, it doesn't quite fit the entire length of this one. So I'm just going to change the stretch to fill, and that will make it so no matter what marquee goes in there, it'll fill it up. It also means that if you have something that's not even close to a marquee type of size, it'll look really stretched, but that's just something we have to combat. Now, if we don't have a marquee image, that's right, huh? Grimjack, the video will play even in this editor, which is really cool. Now, if it's bogging you down, we have a bunch of options here at the top, and you can basically stop the videos from playing, stop animated GIFs from playing, enable or disable different kinds of animations, you know, depending on how well your system's handling all of these elements flying across your screen. And Jay's, hey, good thing CBeats fixed us all of those new marquee priorities, right? Now you don't have to set boxes in your marquees if you don't want to. So, I mean, in saying that, let's do something really cool. Let's say you don't have a marquee. You don't have a marquee image. And so what's going to happen? So let's just visualize what's going to happen. All of a sudden, you're going to see like this transparent thing through your marquee view. You know, we can't have that. So what could we do? We could say, create another image, call it, let's say, we call it the fan art. All right, so now we've got fan art, and I'd want to be like uniform to fill, and we're going to place that behind. Now, uniform to fill basically means we are filling the entire box, but not stretching the element at all, not stretching the image. So depending on how big or small it is, it's still going to fill it up, and you're only going to see part of the image. That's going to, until this whole space is filled up. Okay, so this is sort of our fan art, and we'll place that behind the marquee. So there it is. So we're always going to have something there, kind of, right? There's still a possibility that you're not going to have anything there. So let's do this in different, let's see if I'm going to have to do this in different layers. Yeah, so we're going to have to do this. Let's create a grid. So that grid's going to take on I'm going to copy fan art, and I'm going to paste just the layout of the fan art, which is going to automatically position this grid in the same spot as my fan art. Grid is a parent item, which means I can place this fan art inside of my grid. And now I can create a new image type, and we're going to call this the clear logo. And I'm going to place that also in my grid. We're going to place it at the beginning of our grid here. And this one's going to be our clear logo. Game clear logo. There it is. And let's sort of position it in a better spot for us. Something like that. And we'll want to center it, so we'll use these horizontal center, and probably vertical center is good. So now we've essentially created our own little marquee without really creating it for games that don't have their marquee. And just in case a background fan art can get really busy, we're going to maybe put a blur effect. So I'm going to add a blur effect here. There you go. So it'll give us the colors of the fan art without making it look overly detailed. And another thing I can do to make this stand out, the clear logo stand out, is put a drop shadow effect. So I'll put a drop shadow, put a direction, add some depth to it, and then blur the drop shadow. There you go. So that'll make it stand out just a little bit more. And Dave, yes, you can place that, I'm assuming the fan art, in the grid, and you can crop the grid instead of the way that I did it. And then you can center the fan art if you want. In this case, I'll probably leave it the way it is since I'm only really using it for color. Now, here's the problem with the way that it's set up right now. I mean, there's two problems, but let's solve the first one. The first one is, okay, this scenario. Let's say I have a game, it doesn't have a marquee, so blammo, this happens. And the scenario could be, it also doesn't have a fan art, or the user does not have any fallbacks to fall back to any images for fan art. So this happens. Now I'm back kind of where I started. And in that scenario, I'm going to just want to fill it in with something. So, you can fill it in with another image. You could fill it in with just a rectangle. I think this is what I'm going to do. For this stream, I'm going to take a rectangle. I'm going to grab a copy of the grid. I'm going to paste its layout. There we go. And we're just going to change the color of this grid to black. So at least, not the best. Maybe raise that a little bit. Okay, so that's one kind of solution that you can do. Or that solves one problem. What's the second problem? The second problem is now I have a marquee image, a clear logo and fan art image, and a rectangle all loading at the same time. And we don't want that. Like, we want one thing or the other thing. Actually, I don't really need a rectangle, do I? I'll explain this in a bit. So instead, I could do something, I don't know. I don't really have an image, but let's grab something. Let's grab something. There we go. Images, in my platform images, I've got these banners. Okay, so let me grab, let's say, this Arcade Classics one, and we're gonna place it inside of theme. And this will give people an idea at least. So instead of that rectangle, let's put another image below that. So the scenario is I don't have let's say a fan art, I don't have a marquee image. So instead, display this entirely different image. And we're just going to set this arcade classics as our final fallback destination. Now, we don't have to do it this way, but actually it's probably the best to do it this way. So this is sort of our default marquee image. So in this scenario, I don't have a marquee, so there it goes. I don't have fan art, and so this ends up displaying instead. And let's just try to position it properly. All right. And as what Jay's Arcade is you're alluding to, how do we solve the second problem? Well, with conditions. And so what exactly does that mean? Let's find out. So as the marquee basically saying, hey, if I should probably do a condition on this. So it's visible, but I can say if make it collapsed when this marquee image element, when there's no file. And setting that will help me to set this grid to say, also set a condition, collapse this whole grid. I'm gonna have to say when the fan art might regret this, when there's no fan art. Let's think about that. I think that's okay. And then the final, I might actually do it the opposite way. So it's collapsed unless the marquee image file does not exist. And there's stuff in the community theme creator that basically says if it's collapsed, don't load any content inside of it. Now, in saying that, it probably means if I want to take advantage of that, I'm going to have to do that on the actual elements. But you know, this is just an example. I'll do that later. So then I don't need this one here. Actually, I do need that one there. So we're also going to collapse this if the fan art is missing. And if all of those conditions are met, you're going to be left with this default marquee image. All right, so that should take care of the default marquee, which is not down enough. Okay, there we go. Okay, so something else that I didn't keep in mind is that the community theme creator, I'm just going to save this out. And we can play around at least with a few different themes here, or a few different games. So if I switch to a game and that game, this one has a marquee and it plays the game. Let's go to Alien Crush. You're sort of noticing a few things. The first thing is that there's no background behind the video, basically showing that it's an empty void behind it. So we can solve that. Now, there's a few different ways to solve that. I thought I had one. although I don't remember seeing it in the actual theme files, so I might have removed it. But for this video, I think I'm going to add it back. Maybe it's in here. I'll add it back just because it's a cool effect. I got to remember where I found it. So we could just put a black rectangle behind the video. It would work and it would look good. Instead, just for a little nostalgia and for the purposes of learning how to do it, let's see what I can do about adding this background to it. So this is an animated GIF that's going to display a dark it's going to display that animated GIF. Hopefully I just placed it in the right spot. So in this case, I'm going to need an animated GIF layer. We're going to place this behind our selected item video. And let's go into the media image and we're going to find that. There it is. We'll stretch that so that it'll fit the area that we need it to fit. And then we might as well take the selected item video, copy its properties, layout properties right in there. So that should solve that problem. Let's take a look. You got sort of that scrambly screen look as the game is changing. Okay, one last thing that we're gonna have to do, and I'm feeling like I'm gonna have to figure out where I have it is the font. So I'm not sure I actually kept the font in here, to be honest. So I might have to go get it. Or I can choose a new font. Let's find out. Let's find out what the font's called. So based on my theme, the font is called Frizz Quadrata. So for this, I'm going to have to close the community theme creator. I'm going to have to download this font. And it should be in here. Hopefully it's just one font. There you go. And let's do an install. So font grabbed. And now we can open up the community theme creator and it should have the font that we need. Okay, so in order to do this, let's do this in a fairly simple fashion. Let's create a stack. Actually, let's do a new group, and we'll call this group info, and we'll create a stack. And what a stack will do is it will essentially stack elements vertically as I put them inside of it automatically for me. And you'll sort of see what happens when I do that. We're going to create a text element. And first, before I do anything, we're going to assign metadata to it. I do want it to display I believe it was the developer, so game developer. We're going to change the font to that Fizz Quadrata font. Set a font size. Let's see what 30 looks like. Let's see what 45 looks like. Let's see what 50 looks like. I think I'm going to do 55. There you go. All right. I'm just going to set the width and height to the auto size of the text and shove it into my stack. All right, so now I have control over the alignment of this, and I do want to have the horizontal alignment to the right. There it goes. And let's paste. I can copy this and paste this with all the same properties. You can see it'll just stack them on top of each other. This one's the release year though, so of course that ruins that idea. Let's go to release date element. We'll shove that in between these two elements so we can see what's going to happen here. See, it does shove it in there and it looks kind of funny. Auto size the text, come down here, change the format to just year only. Bring the same font style that we want. There we go. Okay. So we've got our two elements that were in the original theme. The last thing that we're missing, and I'm trying to figure out, let's see the best way to do this. Should be two ways to do it. Let me just double check. So you can see that there's a line between them. I should be able to do that with a frame, let's say. And I could put that frame inside. Let's try a few things out. Let's try frame. I mean, there's also the rectangle, but I'm not sure the rectangle can get so small. Let's find out how small can a rectangle get. Oh, so it can get pretty small. What we could do is, yeah, let's use the rectangle. That'll make sense. Stick that in between our elements, and you can kind of see that this element also needs to be horizontal to the right. Also going to check because this is not going to be dynamic, and I'm kind of curious how I did it here. Okay, I did do it dynamic. So it changes the size of the underline. Okay, so that's going to have to be a frame. So let's create a frame. We'll also put that inside of the stack. We'll set the frame to auto size, and we'll stick the text inside of the frame. All right, so far we've got text inside of some frame. Frame itself will also make right aligned. We're going to get rid of the background there, the black background, and we're going to add a border thickness on the bottom of like 3. That looks fine. And there it is. There's our line again. That line will scale outwards as this gets longer. And so because everything's inside of this big stack of bars, we can stick this up in the corner. I'll give itself some breathing room so that this can get larger. And I can take this whole stack and bring down the opacity a little bit, maybe to 80%. Okay, let's bring this out so that's positioned in a nice buffer between itself and the sides of the theme. Now, after that, I think we're basically done the theme. To test that, I can save that out. I can publish my theme. It will automatically create a copy of it. Oh, can't remove because I'm currently locking the coin OP folder. Let's see if I can get rid of the coin OP folder, but I might not be able to. No, that's the one it's trying to get rid of. Yeah, it's locked. All right. Now the question is, can I rename this? All of my all my files are locked. Yeah, my computer could use a restart. Right. And Jay's, I saw that theme. That I'm assuming that you're building a theme for your arcade. What is it called? The bar top arcade. That was really cool. So you could have menus on both sides of your for your controllers as you're looking in. And it's true. Welcome in. Hope you're doing well. I don't fully understand your question, but if you want to elaborate, I'd be happy to answer it. All right. Okay, things are not locked up anymore, so we should be good to go. Right after the stream, definitely going to do a restart. All right. So we're going to click here and we're going to try to make our way back to the coin op theme. There it is. Before we do anything, let's see if we can publish now. All right, we're going to switch over to the coin OP theme. which I just exported, or let's say published. We're going to go into our arcade and we're going to see what we got. Okay, there we go. It's working. It's playing the game. Switch a game. Switch is pretty good. Looks like I'm gonna have to change the location of the index, but other than that, everything looks all right. You can see Lupin here doesn't have a marquee, and it is using the conditionings correctly to display its logo. Same with this Lup Lup puzzle game. And there we see it quickly switch back to a marquee image. Okay, so everything's basically good to go. Let's do two more things before the end of this stream. We're going to make a copy of this, and we're going to create ourselves basically the exact same thing for a platform view. All right, Riaz, you think in a few weeks we need to do an ultimate Christmas theme? Incorporate as many Christmas games, retro and modern, that we can, along with some custom Christmas images of classic game characters. Look at that. I think I'll be starting a trend with the whole Halloween thing, eh? All right, so we basically pasted the exact same thing into a platform view. It doesn't quite do the same thing. Platform views have their own specific metadata, so some things work, some things don't, as you're kind of noticing. Like the whole stack came over, but nothing's being displayed. And that's just because this text needs to change its metadata to something. So in this case, we'll probably do, we can do the name, but that's fairly obvious already. Yeah, I think we'll do developer. Actually, let's do total game count. We almost need three things here, so let's make a copy of this, put it underneath this. This one, we're going to change the border thickness to here. And here's a better understanding of what I'm doing. So a system like Arcade doesn't have a manufacturer or a publisher, but something like Atari Jaguar does. So there we have, oh, you can see that was a mistake to do this. So let's bring this out and delete that. Okay. The stack itself needs to get a little bit, there we go. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a doc, and that doc's going to fit inside just below the release date. We're going to stick this text in there, change the metadata, I'll fix the alignments, change the metadata from developer to total games count. Looks like we got 54 games, and then we'll make a copy of this text, paste it here. This is total games count. And here we're going to do total games text, constant value, total games. Haven't gotten there, Dave, but thanks for reminding me. Okay, so I do want to make the text smaller for these ones. So I'm going to Ooh, too small. Let's do 35. 45. No, 40 is probably good. Let's do it to this one. And this dock I'm probably going to make a little even more darker. So let's bring down the grays. Ooh, that was for the background color. That's not what I wanted. Want it for the text. Let's do that. Let's see what that looks like. Ooh, too much. Bit better, at least on my screen. Okay, I'm good with that. And the last thing we want to do on the platform view is to just get rid of all this marquee stuff. We don't need that. What we're going to do instead is we're going to have a couple things here. I'll just match what I did in my other in the previous theme. We're going to have a default fallback, or we're going to have a marquee image. And the marquee image is going to be based off of the metadata of a banner. So you can see there's already a banner. It looks kind of stretched. But we do have the ability to go back into the coin op folders, go to big box media overrides, images, platforms, and banner, and it should read anything that I put in here as long as the name of the image is the same as the name of the platform in your library. So let's go grab the rest of those images. Where did I place them? Okay. Place the rest of them here. Let's grab them. Platforms, banner. Let's bring them all over. Okay, I made these a long time ago. It's a small sampling. I didn't make all of them. Actually, I do have a small sampling. So, and of course the problem with the small sampling is that it won't work for most systems. So to combat that, let's do something. Let's do the same thing that we were doing over here. And bring the clear logo and fan art over. That'll solve my problem. And we won't have stuff like that anymore. In fact, I almost want to replace it with that. And by doing it that way, we're going to have to change a few things. Instead of doing banner, we're going to have to look for a platform logo, platform image inside of a folder that I don't have created yet. Let's create it. So we're going to call this platform image. Inside of here, we're going to place those banners that I created a long time ago. Okay. And so we're going to point to that folder. And of course, we don't currently have anything with that. Let's see. Let's move our grid. Okay, so the marquee image is essentially still saying it's visible, but make it collapsed when There's no images that exist. The grid now will say make it collapsed, but make it visible if your marquee image file does not exist. And then make it collapsed if the fan art doesn't exist. Now the fan art might have to change. What's inside of this fan art? I think we can get away with that, to be honest. Okay. And then in this scenario, I'd probably just want to change this image to a rectangle. Place it down there. Don't want it to always say arcade. Okay. Change it down to black. We should be okay with the view here. Maybe. To be honest, I probably don't need this second one here. There we go. Clear logo. Let's just make sure it's bound to the correct platform clear logo. There we go. All right, we should be good to go now. Switch up some things. There we go. Look at that. It'll create its own marquee now, so it's even better than the original. Now let's do the last two things. Now these are the things that I left to the end because they are more advanced, sort of. One is a new feature that Dave has created with the help of Christian, and the other, or C-Beats, and the other is a feature that I don't think I covered, or at least I don't think I covered recently, which is character-specific graphics, and I'll explain a little bit about how I do it, why I do it the way that I do it. There are multiple ways that you could do it, but I'm doing it in a very specific way. Let's tackle the characters first, I think. So basically what I want to have happen is I want to have a character image, let's say behind everything here. So let's put it behind here. And we'll call this our character image. You know, make it sort of this size maybe. We're going to position it here. Make the image horizontal and vertical to the bottom, and squish it a little bit right to there. There we go. And what I'm wanting to do is I'm wanting it to be specific to the game that it's currently on. So for this to, for me to actually test this out, I'm going to need one that I have an image for. So let's pick a game. I have an image for Donkey Kong. So let's do that one. We're going to find, well, just type it in the search. Oh, your search is not working, Dave. I will keep that up for a few seconds, and then actually let me grab it for you. There you go. Just in case that might help. Haven't used that in a while. Luckily, at this point, once you exit the edit screen, everything's saved, so we don't have to worry about that. So instead of the search, let's just navigate down to Donkey Kong. Here it is. I've got a bunch of images here in the original theme. Let me just find them. Here they are. We're going to call a folder game graphics. And there's essentially 3 ways that you could do this. The first way is to say take this game name and look inside of my game graphics folder for an image with the same game as my name. It will work for most of your games. It won't work for all of your games. And that's mainly because of special characters. So you can see here that some of your games have, colons in it, and you can't actually have a colon inside of a file name. And therefore, if you tried to do that, it would try to look for one and would never find one. So you couldn't have a image for your Dora the Explorer games, arcade games, or Dungeons and Dragons 3 or 2, as it is. So, I mean, it's one way you could do it. It's just not 100% effective. I don't think everything's 100% effective, to be honest. The second way that you could do it is using the file name. So you could say whatever the file name is, name it after that. And that actually might be pretty good. You could probably get away with that mostly. The problem is that there's a lot of different file names or variations of files out there. So if the person that's using your theme isn't using the exact same ROM set that you are, they will never be able to access that game file. And so, yes, it'll work, but maybe only for you, or maybe only not 100%. So the way that I decided to do it was through something called the Launchbox Database Id. And within Launchbox itself, it has the ability, when you upload or import your games, it tries to download metadata for it. And as it's doing that, it's capturing, or it's matching a games database entry with your game. And it tries to match up everything. And at this point, I would say most of the retro games, popular ones, let's say, have long been added to the games database, and you'll find an entry for it. And you can see it if you edit any of your games right here in the top right, Launchbox Database ID 33444. And you can click that, and it'll bring you to the games database page right here. And this is a good way if you find an issue with the games database, you have a better image or something that you want to upload, you can do it right here. And then you can help everybody out by finding problems with the game database or holes and filling them in for us. And so I can utilize that number and say, okay, create an image with this exact number, and then look inside of a folder for that image. And I did that for a few games. You see very few games as examples to see that you can do it like this. And there's the games that probably they're all for arcade. The one issue here is that then you can't really tell what the game's for since you don't have the name of it or a partial name. So I guess that's one benefit of the file, of doing it for the file name. There might be an argument to try to do it for both, but then you would have to have duplicates of your images. Potentially. Anyway, it's probably an good argument for doing it for both and having both scenarios work. But let's do it the way that I have it here. So we're going to go down, we're going to find the character image that I created. We're going to go to metadata. And man, I haven't actually looked for this in a long time. Do you remember what it's called? Let's see, do I remember what it is called? one of these metadata entries should be called database ID. There it is. So it's saying, hey, look for something with the database ID number and look inside of this game graphics folder, and boom, there's my picture of Mario, which I guess I'll make bigger a little bit. Okay, so there's Mario, or Jumpman, whatever you want to call him. And what I normally did, this is the one bit of animation that I'll do here, is I will essentially say, now let's just play around with scale. So we'll say scale to 0, scale width, scale height to 0, right away, immediately when the view loads. Okay. I guess we should also do opacity. So let's also do opacity. So we'll say opacity, go from, immediately just go to 0%. Oops, 0%. All right, so now let's do a new trigger. This trigger will say, hey, once you select Donkey Kong, make the opacity 100%, maybe give it, 2 seconds to get there. And we're also going to do a scale. Let's see. And the scale will go to 100%. That will take, let's give it 1 second. And yeah, let's do like a nice ease. And we're going to have to match that with our height. Current scale to 100%, take 1 second with a cubic ease of easing in and out. Oh, you can see there, it did not do what I needed to do. So here we go. Okay, so it's a little bit better. All right, next. We've got to say that during selection, we do want to make the opacity from current opacity to 0. And let's do a fade out. Let's fade out 0.1 second, and then after 0.1 second, we will bring down the scale. Nope. Don't need to go that far. We'll do that for both width and height. Okay, so we should have it come up. There it goes. Now let me just double check that. It's not showing 100% properly, but should be okay. At least the code looks okay. Both of these are zeros. Yeah, we're good. Okay, so I think we're done with the animations. It should work as intended. Let's save it out and just see what happens when you navigate to this game, and then out pops Mario. And the last thing that I want to do is put sort of a repeating animation. So we're going to create, let's see how we're going to do this. Let's create a new trigger. And this one will be once selected, but we'll start this one at actually, we don't need to do a new one, do we? Let's go back to the once selected. Looks like this starts at, I see what the problem is. All right. There we go. It's a little quick, so let's bring that up a little bit. Want it to be a little bit of a surprise. Okay, so we'll allow it to take 2 seconds. It'll appear. And then here we're going to say scale width, and we're going to bring it back down to, let's say, 80. But we're going to have that take 3 seconds. And we'll do the easing function. Then we'll say repeat that. We'll do the same thing here. 2.2 seconds. Height. Bring it down to 80. We'll tell it to take 3 seconds. And cubic ease. Dan, how you doing? Welcome in. We're getting close to the end of this. Whoa, okay. Did I forget to repeat that? I forgot to repeat that. And 80% is probably a bit much. Let's bring it up to 90%. Fix that animation a little bit. Okay, let's see what we got. It comes out, it gets a little smaller, and oh, I forgot to forgot to auto reverse. We do want to see it auto reverse, don't we? All right, let's see what this guy does now. He comes out, gets smaller, and he should get bigger. There you go. And then he'll just repeat that. Okay, and then that should change depending on the game. And I've got a few games here, and anyone can add games into this folder themselves and see it. Let's click Donkey Kong Jr. I know I have one for that one. So it should be an image of Donkey Kong Jr. There it goes. And same with Donkey Kong 3. Okay, there he is. Why he's starting big? Not sure. I think I got it right, but I'll double check. And Dan, will this live show be saved? Yes. So all of our live shows are archived on our YouTube channel. Always, if you want to know when we start streaming, just press or just subscribe to the channel. But you can always go to, I think there's a live section on YouTube where you can check all the previous ones. Do our best to catalog and archive it, and the themes that I create on this will, if they haven't already, be shared, and there'll be a link to all of those themes and the creator files in the description of the videos. So you can go back to previous ones that I've done, and more than likely you'll find the link in the description for you to download these creator files, load it up yourself, and sort of follow along, learn how to create your own themes, which is a good point there for you, Grimjack. Any previous streams, if you want to learn, you should be able to get those files. They link to a place on the Community Theme Creator. Awesome, Dan. So you're already getting notified, so you're good. I think you're good to go. So let's see, start time. So come in, start time there. That's good. During selection, let's just make sure it's doing what I need it to do. Go to 0% at 0.1 seconds during my selection. Thanks so much, Riaz, for stopping by. Have a great weekend and a great week. And we'll see you next week if you show up. If not, there's always the archival video. All right, the last last piece of awesomeness for this one is the ability to maybe put some life into this arcade cabinet. And we're going to do this with something that Dave has been able to graciously add to this version of the theme creator, and that's the ability to have more than one selected item video displaying. And so maybe just to have some separation here, I'll create a new group and I'll call it the video reflection. And we're going to put this in the middle here. And I'm going to create a second item video. And you can see here, oh, it's basically an exact duplicate. We'll call this bottom reflection. And what I can do is I can use this feature here, flip vertically. Okay, there you go. And I can place this essentially, I guess, here. Something like this. You can see here that both videos are kind of doing their own thing. I'm going to put a little skew on this. Why not? All right, we'll reposition it a bit. Actually, I'll do even better than this. Instead of skewing it like I'm doing right now, or skewing it, instead of stretching it the way that I do it right now, this is what you could do. You could create a canvas. So here's our canvas. We're going to position the canvas in our spot that we need it to position, which is here. Actually, I can probably just take this, which is what I kind of want. There we go. So we got our canvas there. We'll put the reflection in there, which means I don't think we need the skew on here since it's on the canvas itself. And we use this setting on the canvas. Oh, stop flipping. Clip to region. And what that will allow us to do, along with unchecking this setting, lock to canvas. So technically, this bottom reflection can get larger than the actual canvas parent itself, but this clip to region option that I chose will make it so it doesn't actually show the area outside of the canvas. So now I can make this larger like this without showing the parts that I don't want to show of the video. And give it like a good thing. And now the last thing I'll probably do is just add a little bit of a blur, right? You can't be perfectly shown. There it goes. A little bit of blur. And now I can reduce its opacity to something a little darker. And so if you really take a look, we want it to be there, but we don't want, and it'll change based on the video, but it will sort of be, it'll actually look like a reflection reflecting off of the surface here. I thought that's a really cool effect. And let's try to do that one more time. So I'm going to make a copy of the canvas. We're going to paste it. So there's now a third one. We're going to call this the top reflection. I'm going to remove the skew. I don't think we need it for the top one. And we're going to, instead of flip vertically, actually I don't think we need to do any of that, to be honest. But let's bring that back in. It's really hard to see it, so let's bring in the opacity as we test this out. Isn't that really cool? Grimjack, it's awesome when I saw it, when I got demoed it. Oops, I'm moving the item inside the canvas when I needed to move the canvas itself. Okay, there we go. Moving the canvas. Oh, you know what? It's still not there. Let me just bring it back. That's fine, that's fine. Width, we'll set it to something where I can adjust it. Okay, cool. Canvas itself, let's see what we're gonna need to do. We'll position it first. And of course, we're gonna need it flipped for us. And now let's position the items. If I use the cursor without pressing shift, it will go very, very incrementally here. Yeah, that looks about right. Right, now I can adjust the canvas to only show what I need it to show. Okay. Of course, then it messed up the top of the thing here. Okay. There we go. Okay, so now that I've got the part that I want to be reflecting, I can now turn down the opacity. And I'm turning down the opacity on the wrong element. Let's go back up here to the top reflection. Bring this down. When it loads, don't want it to be too much. You know, you just want it to be there, subtle. Let's take a look. That looks pretty good. Let's save that out. And there you go. We now have a little more dynamics happening on this actual screen to make it look less like it's an image. And let's just check that out with some games. Got the reflection down here. That's really cool. The reflection up here. Some things that you probably want to do, although I won't do it in this stream, is cut out these controller joysticks and then place them on a layer above the video reflection so that doesn't look like it's reflecting off of there. I'll probably do that before I release this theme, just to let everybody know. But I mean, other than that, like, you could release this and it would still look amazing. Let's go to Donkey Kong 1. There you go. You can see the ladders and the reflection on the on the joysticks and stuff. It's pretty awesome. And that's essentially the theme. We've got one platform view, one games wheel view. The last thing that we want to do, and I'm gonna actually should do this for you, Grimjack, is that if you know big box theming, you'll know that there are two views that are sort of mandatory in all big box themes, and that's the two textless views. And I haven't touched either of them. So what will happen if I just publish this theme is that if anybody in certain situations you have to use a textless view, and it'll just fall back to the big box default theme. And so if you're wanting those views to look more like your theme, you've got to then create something in those views. So I'll show you an easy way to get around that. Let me first fix the problem that I had here, which is the game wheel index. I do need to put that above the other items, so I'm just going to put it at the top here. There we go. So it doesn't appear underneath the cabinet. Okay, so now that I did that, and this is above, this is a dynamic element. It'll only appear in the situation where it needed to be there, or the user activates it. We'll copy this whole games view, and we're going to paste it into the text games view. So this is the element that if you want to make it look like your theme, I can paste everything in there and you're done. Let's see if it works. It's going to copy my entire games wheel. It's going to paste it into the games text games view, and it's going to replace the wheel element with a text list. And essentially, I'm 95% done this view, unless I wanted to make some changes. It's got everything else is exactly the same. It brought over the video elements, like everything. Everything is the same. And from this point on, if you wanted to make changes to the text games view, you can. In this case, I'm just going to take this list here, and I'm going to change the wheel and just give it some properties. I want it to use the same font as the rest of the theme, so I'll change the font. You adjust the size of the font in there, and then we can adjust the look of the text. Let's take a look. Ooh, that's big. Let's bring that down a bit. Something that you'll have to learn is if the text gets too long and it goes beyond your text list element like this, you have some options. You can either tell it to trim either by the character or by an entire word. The character would essentially look like this. So it's got little dots at the end indicating that the name will actually get larger. You could instead wrap the whole text so it now becomes a two-liner game. So in this case now it's double dragon 3 the Rosetta Stone down here. So you could do that as well. Some people like it. I kind of a person that wants one game, one line. Okay. And of course you can adjust the opacity. I'm going to bring that down the same as the other ones. Give it a nice little gloss look. That might be a bit much for me. Let's do 90. We'll bring that out a bit since nothing's actually there. And what I'll probably do is switch. Dave has been kind enough to give us a bunch of presets here, but you'll need to switch to preset 8 to take advantage of the coloring here. So here we can say for the item that's selected, which is now off the screen. I'm done the cool stuff, Dave. You must have missed it. Unless you mean the text list, that's cool stuff. If you mean the text list, then yes. Yes, I'm doing that. So one thing I'm noticing, and this is more for you, Dave. I know you made some changes to the selected item, and although you did mention that you might have some positioning issues, so maybe that's what I'm seeing here. It's not quite showing me the selected item anymore. So let's see if I can reset that. Or maybe it is, and I just probably is. And it's because I changed the element. Okay, so we go back down here, we go select the wheel, and we're going to color it a little bit. So in this case, the foreground of the selected item, I don't know, what's a good color? A yellowy orange or something? Let's see what that does. Oh, there it is. Not bad. So, and what Dave did, and what I was referring to, is that now that we can actually see the element, if you navigate through the list, it should dynamically update this list to show me, the exact item that I'm on. There it is. Cool. Okay, look at those reflections go. That's pretty cool. All right, and that's basically it. So that's I'm probably gonna regret not changing this text list, but other than that, that's the text list for the games. I'll do the same thing for the platform later. The whole theme is basically ready to go. Let's do one final look at what it looks like in Big Box. So I'm going to publish the theme. Shouldn't take too long since the theme's not very large. Only has a few images, and let's boot up Big Box and take a look. All right. So hopefully that helped you. What are your thoughts, Grimjack, on the whole Big Box theming situation? Okay, it already remembered that I had the same exact games here. Looking pretty good. There's the brilliance of what Dave did. If you use a custom font, it will automatically bring that font over to the theme on your behalf and package it with the font for you, or with the theme for you. You don't have to do anything or think about it other than just set it and forget it. Isn't it crazy? And there's been a lot of improvements over Big Box over the years as far as theming goes than like 5 years ago. And over the last few years with Dave creating the community theme creator, a lot of the code and like the kind of mystery behind the code is now right in front of our face in a design mode, allowing us to take it full advantage of what was possible, just unknown. Anyway, let's jump into an arcade view. And man, see those reflections go. That's pretty awesome. And then people get a much more responsive theme as far as video reflections, as far as the marquee, which is always a problem with this theme. Hopefully, and it contains everything that the old theme used to have. And on top of that, now with these community theme creator files, which create different files than the actual theme, we can share those, and then you can load it up in the community theme creator, make any change that you want visually. And Grimjack, final question. Is there anything the designer can't do that we need to bounce to XAML editing for? There are a few things. Okay, now the main one, which is being worked on and will be worked on, is that earlier this year we got a brand new wheel. So we got we call it the flow control, brand new flow control wheel that's not currently in the theme creator. So if you're wanting to utilize the functionality of that wheel, that does so much more than the old one did, then you would have to go into the XAML and edit that. But for other things, and something that you probably should know, is that if you're wanting to add sort of like smaller elements to a theme, and it doesn't currently exist in the community theme creator, you can add it using this here. So there's this user source option, and down here you would basically create a user source, call it whatever you want, and then you would paste the code in here, and it will display what you want it to display. So you do have the option to add custom code into the theme creator itself. Now just remember, something that you should know since you're new, you can copy you saw me copy entire views to other views. You can copy entire views or just small elements or the parent of an element and everything inside of it, not only between views, but also between themes. So I can grab this whole cabinet and then jump to a different theme and then paste it in the view that I want to paste it in. So by looking through maybe some of the old streams that I've done, and maybe looking through and downloading those community theme project, you can utilize any of those elements and bring them over and just sort of look at them and see how they work and use them in your own theme. I mean, it's a very quick way to create your ultimate theme as well. So for people that don't even want to be a theme creator, they can download these theme creator projects and build their own ultimate theme with different views. Yeah, very easy. Just copy and paste. And the last thing that I'll just show you is that down here, if you wanted a specific games view for a particular platform. So let's say this is great for arcade, but I wanted something specific for the Nintendo. You would click this button down here where it says Configuration Default. It pops up a window of all of the different platforms that you have in your system, and you can activate these. So I can say I want a Nintendo Entertainment System specific view. And so you can click Nintendo Entertainment System. It will load up this Nintendo Entertainment System specific theme or view, and then you can start editing that view. And then in Big Box, only when you navigate to Nintendo Entertainment System will whatever you do inside of this canvas will appear. And yeah, looks like Dave will stop you from creating more than one instance of the community theme creator, but yeah, I guess you could do it if you have multiple VMs. Yeah. But there you go. It's very, very cool, and Dave's always working on sort of that next feature, making it better. And we're always looking at Big Box and finding ways to add elements for our theme developers for their asks, and trying to get new items in for all of us to play around with so that we can build the ultimate themes and share them. So yeah, thank you so much, Grimjack, for joining this week, and Dave and everybody else. Hope you have a great weekend. I stream normally on Fridays, so come back next Friday. Grimjack, hopefully you can, if you do dive in, I'd love to see what you're up to. Till then, thanks everybody. Have a great weekend. We'll see you guys soon. Take care.